Thursday, January 27th. It's 6:30 p.m. We're in the Berlin room at the Olentangy Administrative Offices, and this is the regular meeting of the Olentangy Schools Board of Education. I'll call the meeting to order. Ms. Hatfield, please call the roll.
Dr. Dabrico?
Present.
Mr. Lester?
Present.
Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mrs. Patrick?
Here.
And Dr. Weiss? Here. Thank you.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dustin, this TV's throwing some feedback. I don't know if you have a volume or anything on it.
Oh, the TV is?
Yeah. Sorry. Excuse me. You know my attention span. It's already. We're fine. We're fine to go ahead and get started.
We're good?
Yeah.
All right, so right now I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Mindy on the second, please.
Second.
Second from Dr. Wise.
Any discussion?
Any discussion on the agenda? Go ahead. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Patrick? Yes. Dr. Weiss? Yes. Dr. Dabrico?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move into the presentation items. So we have two presentation items tonight. The first is slightly different, and I'm going to say a couple of minutes, then Ms. Davis. So we're going to go leave this room. We're going to go upstairs to the Orange Conference Room. Everyone is welcome to join us. It's not executive session, it's a public session. It is the Orange High School Jazz Band. It's not the Orange Band because we couldn't fit them all in this building, so we went with the Jazz Band. They're going to have a performance for us for a few minutes, and then we'll reconvene back in this room to go to the second presentation item. So, Ms. Davis, anything you want to add to that?
I do. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. I just want to make a couple quick remarks before we go upstairs. So this is School Board Appreciation Month, and so we'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of you on behalf of our students, staff, parents, and community for your willingness to serve our one Olentangy family in this manner. So life has shown us during this pandemic that our portrait of a learner dispositions of being purposeful, resilient, curious, and kind could not be more relevant than ever. And I think we've seen that over the last few years, how important those are to put those into action. But as we move forward in this coming year, and I know that you will all represent those, we've had to stretch and grow and use all of these skills in putting ourselves out there to do the job that we are doing. So we wanted to thank you for that, but we also have a couple of things to give you to thank you besides the jazz band upstairs. And so with that, we have a certificate of appreciation from the Ohio School Board Association to share with you. But I think what's at the heart of your service and all of us who are here at the board meeting tonight is the work of our students. And so we have note cards for you that are made from artwork made by our students at Liberty Tree Elementary School. So they have, I would like everyone to hear what they've said. The mighty oaks from tiny acorns grow. Each of our Olentangy students are brimming with potential. Much like the tiny acorn, they have bright, strong futures ahead of them if they are supported, challenged, and given space to grow. The same is true for our exceptional staff who continue to grow and lead in ways never thought imaginable. Strong leaders know how to support and encourage growth with the understanding that, like oak trees, each individual is beautifully unique and develops at their own pace. Thank you for being a part of the Olentangy community and your dedication through leadership to the limitless potential of our students and educators. The acorn images included on the cards are from a current Olentangy Education Foundation project made possible through the Howie Arts Grant. And so you'll each have a pack of those and these certificates as well as the flowers. And then, of course, our student performance upstairs. So before we go upstairs, we also, Mr. O'Brien, you graciously invited folks to come up. We are also running the jazz band live stream, so people will be able to watch it in the Genoa Cafe. But while we're making our way upstairs, those who remain will be able to see the video that you all worked with our team on recording a few weeks ago about your service. So for those who would like to stay, there will be a video while we walk upstairs, and then the Genoa Cafe will be streaming the band performance, and then you can come back for the resumption of. So I know that there's a lot of things, moving parts, but that is what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and head upstairs for the.
Good evening. Thank you very much. I'd like to be pleased to introduce the Olentangy Ward High School Jazz Ensemble. And if I would, if you don't mind, I'd like to take the time to introduce the band. On the saxophones, the baritone saxophone, we have Abby Karshner. On tenor sax, Adam Wiest. Also on tenor sax, Elliot Lumen. On alto sax, Aiden Rampt. And on alto sax, Lexi Sisson. And coming into the trombones and euphonium section, Miles Warner, Spencer Wilson, Joe Wachowski, Adam Lubin, Chad, who's not with us tonight, Chad Fender, Chris Parikh, David Payne, and Ashton Earl. And then in the trumpet section, we have Drew Hellman, Jilly Hickman, Grayson Thager, Emma Heiser, who's not with us tonight, Alex Butte, and Hayden Garner. And then our rhythm section on piano, State, on bass, Liam Longman, and on drums, Colin Dunn. This is the jazz ensemble.
Can you introduce ourselves?
Sure.
Right. So I'm Kevin O'Brien, school board member for 12 years.
And Dr. Leticia Wise. I'm Mindy Patrick.
I'm Brandon Roster.
Kevin Dabercoat. Mark Ray, Superintendent.
Emily Hatfield, Treasurer.
All right, and I'm Krista Davis, the Chief Communications Officer.
Anyone else? Did I miss anyone?
Looks like we got some very important parents here too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us. This is a group that meets every day. We performed for Ronald McDonald House in previous years when we were able to, done some jazz festivals and general concerts. Tonight, we'll perform in this Latin piece called Tiger of San Pedro. Wonderful, wonderful arrangement by Paul Lavender featuring Colin Dunn on drums and Jilly Hickman on trumpet. Tiger of San Pedro.
Hold on, Dr. Parks, 1 second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, you're ready.
Ready? All right, so we are back, and I want to thank Dr. Cox and the Orange High School Jazz Band. That was a fantastic performance. We appreciate them spending some time with us on their off night and off hours, so we very much appreciate that. So next item is the Liberty High School softball turf presentation. Scott Wiley, Matt Stamp, and Ty Kashmiri. And Darren, sorry, see you here as well.
Thank you for having us here this evening. I know earlier this month we had an opportunity to present to the Facilities Committee, and a few of you were present for that. So I promise you we won't be as long this time. My name's Darren Meeker. I'm the Athletic Director at Liberty. And I just wanted to give a quick overview of this project. We're fortunate to be able to partner with Liberty Athletic Boosters and a local community organization known as the Ohio Thunder, our local baseball travel organization, to come together and propose to purchase a synthetic turf field, both at our softball varsity field and the JV field. So that's the purpose of all of this. In the last several years, Coach Kashmiri has been our head coach for 3 years and been very involved for the last 5 or 6 years with softball. And our program has grown. We've grown not just in numbers and in a variety of ways of interest at Liberty. And along with the growth of our softball program, an organization such as Thunder has grown as well. I believe now there's somewhere close to 150 participants, and historically they've used our baseball fields and also our softball fields. So it makes sense to partner together and continue to provide opportunities, for all of these students and softball players. This will be a 50-50 split, roughly about $275,000 for the project for both fields. Scott Wiley, our new LAB president, will speak more to the finances, and as LAB is leading those charges. Levon's Excavating, they'll be installing the turf, the same group that has installed the recent turf at Orange High School for their baseball. Coach Kashmiri's had an opportunity to visit with them on site. All of the information research we've done with them, and we know they've done good work, so we're excited to continue a second project with them for our turf. Installation, we're hoping, if all goes well, August 2022. Primary reasons, we do not want to disrupt the high school season whatsoever that is in the spring, and then we certainly don't want to take away from the summer season where we have a lot of our local youth from, again, the Thunder, from Little League, the OYA organizations that currently use our softball field. So it makes most sense that the install would be in August. Ohio Thunder and Liberty Athletic Boosters, we're looking at a 7-year loan. And again, Mr. Wiley will speak to that. The only thing I will say is at Liberty, this will be our third major turf project. And the two previous ones that we've done in the last 8 years, both of those loans were paid off well before, 1 to 2 years before the proposed term. So again, very fortunate with the amount of usage we get. I think working with our facilities group, they do a really good job of the maintenance and the upkeep of it. So we expect the loan to be paid off before the 7 years. So with that, to talk a little more about the finances, I'll turn it over to Mr. Wiley, but before we do that, I think Coach Kashmiri wants to speak a little bit as well.
Yeah. Thanks for having us today, and I appreciate your service to the community and to the kids out there, which is most important to me. The reason we want turf on our fields is that we're just going to get a lot more play. Based on Ohio, the weather isn't that great in March and February and April and even May. So, less weather related games and cancellations. Teams can host us during their cancellations. So let's just say we're going to play UA and it rains and their field's not ready, we can send them right back over to our place. So that gives us a little advantage. Field maintenance reduction for the athletic department and our team will be anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000 less a year in regards to cost of maintenance in the field. And then the hours that I put in, parents and the players, is about 400 hours when you talk about the start, which is February, all the way through September when we close it up. So we'll have a steady revenue to the program. Baseball tournaments, I started Little League 2 years ago for softball, not baseball, but for softball. I'm proud to say that we have over 250 kids participating from the ages of kindergarten all the way up to 4th grade. So we're really excited about that. We want softball players on the field just like we are having baseball players. And then, of course, we're partnering also with OIA. The Phoenix Travel Group will also be renting the fields, and we also have opportunities for camp and things like that. So the increased income will help us enable the softball program to do some things in the future, maybe put some bleachers out there, things like that. And then the last thing what I would say is we are super proud of the fact that we will be one of the few complexes to have both baseball and softball varsity and JV fields turfed in our community, and I think it's going to be great. We've had a lot of excitement, a lot of growth in softball, and we really appreciate it if you take a look at this. Thank you.
Just a quick question, infield, outfield, or just infield?
It's only going to be the infield.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Scott Wiley. I'm the new president of the Liberty Athletic Booster Club. I am the proud parent of a Liberty High School freshman student athlete and a Hyatt's middle schooler student athlete. And I want to thank you for spending some time with us tonight. So let me get to some of the things that I think might probably be on your mind. And I'll start by saying, you know, it was one of your former colleagues, Julie Fiesel, who I think probably put this best when it comes to what we're talking about here tonight. And really what Liberty High School and the Boosters have been able to do over the 19-year history of our high school is pretty incredible in terms of community partnership with the school district. Finding needs to enhance the student-athlete experience and the overall student experience, and doing that in a way that doesn't stretch the already very thin taxpayer dollars that you know well all about. So how we're going to fund this project is really a combination, a 50-50 combination of income from the softball program as well as through some other partnerships. But let's first talk about the 50% coming from the softball program. So this looks at the partnerships that are already in play and that will be extended as a result of this project. So the first three on the list, Ohio Elite Worthington Wood Bat Association and PBR, those are programs that will, relationships will actually be extended because of this project. So interest because of this project. And then the partnership with Thunder, Little League, and OIAA will be as a result of this project. And then a special program we're doing with Ohio Thunder to cover the other 50% is a contractual relationship that will result in them paying 1/2 of the total fees over the period of that relationship to fund this program. So all of these are private resources that are going to be done through the Liberty Athletic Boosters. And we also recognize, and I think it's important for me to state here, that LAB will be responsible for turf replacement. Now, we would anticipate, based on projections, based on past use, that that'll probably happen in a 10-year period. And we don't think it'll probably all be replaced at once. It'll be based on the high use areas. And certainly that's something that Mr. Meeker, Mr. Gordon have worked on over time, and will continue to do that. And I'd be happy to answer questions you may have. At this time, I think we're going to just talk a little bit more about the turf. Okay.
AstroTurf is the company that is going to come in and put the turf in. The Laven company is the excavating company. They're handling that part of it. And then the turf company will come in. Orange Baseball used Sprint Turf. Actually, Orange wanted to use AstroTurf, but they weren't available because of COVID in regards to supply. So let's see. That's what it's going to look like at the varsity field. The logo will be behind home plate. And then you'll have 2 warm-up areas outside on each side for both home and away. So you have the green areas and the what they call the apron. There's that. And then there's the JV field. We chose not to do the logo. I think the biggest advantage we have is baseball has done this already. Everybody, the leadership's still there, so we'll lean on them big time. I've talked to them a lot in regards to things that we need to look out for, but we have that partnership, and of course, Mr. Meeker's gone through the process, so, and that's a picture of the JV field. Any questions?
Questions for?
Just one,
Glenn?
and a comment, if I may. Thank you for what you do for our kids. It's a big deal. That's why people move here, and so thank you.
Thank you.
Not just for softball, but just for what it does for our culture.
Sure.
Is this collateralized, this note?
You want to answer that?
So, yeah, the life of the contract, we expect will be 2022 through 2029, and it will be fully covered through LAB. Beyond that, give me a little more what you might be asking.
If I don't pay our mortgage, they take it.
Yeah, no, LAB is signing the contract and we're responsible for it.
Okay, that's the only question. So the district has no liability?
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, we asked all our questions at the
At
meeting.
facilities, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would add, more of a comment than a question, is whether it's Olentangy, Orange, Liberty, we've got great track records with turf and booster support, and like you said, whether it's I believe Olentangy paid off their turf first, then it was Liberty, then it was Orange. So the track record here is strong. We appreciate the work that you guys are doing, and best of luck with the project.
Thanks for your support.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we'll transition now. The next agenda item is board president's report. I've just got a few things I want to cover, and then we can get to the superintendent's report. So one, we had a brief meeting earlier in the month, so where we just kind of went through organizational issues. So I wanted to welcome Kevin and Brandon to the board, and welcome back Lakeisha and Mindy to the board. Looking forward to working with you guys as we move forward. One of the things that we worked on at the last board meeting was committee assignments. And so the board has 4 committees that we assign liaisons to. So it's facilities, finance and audit, policy, and school advocacy. And what I'd like to do is, as we go through the year and the subcommittees have meetings, we'll have the various liaisons from those committees come back through the president's report and report out the activities at the various committees. So for facilities, it's Brandon and Mindy. We would ask them that at the board meeting subsequent to the last facilities meeting to come back, brief the board on the activities of the facilities committee. Similarly, for finance and audit, it's the Kevins, so Kevin and myself are doing finance and audit. Policy, Brandon and Lakeisha, and then school advocacy is Kevin and Lakeisha. So I think it's a good way to keep the board informed of the activities of the committees, and also give us a chance to, as a board, talk through what's going on at the various committees for those members that aren't acting as liaisons. And it's important to understand our role with the committees. We're liaisons to the committees. We are not voting members of the committees. We are there to provide input and guidance and direction where appropriate, but really just observe the work of the committee and then report that back to the board. Because we are not members of the committees, more a support function to the committees. Okay. One last thing, I think it's important, I guess in terms of the legislative update, we have two state reps that represent our interests in the State House, Representative Rick Carfagna and Representative Chris Jordan. Earlier this week, I believe yesterday, Representative Carfagna announced that he will not be seeking another term. In my opinion, and I don't speak for the board, in my opinion, that's a loss for the district because Rick Carfagna was a really solid rep, was a good advocate for Olentangy. As much as Chris Jordan campaigned that he was an advocate for Olentangy and for school funding, when it mattered, he voted against fair funding and he didn't support Olentangy schools. So we need to keep an eye on who replaces Rick Carfagna, because it'll be important to make sure that we support someone who's going to really advocate on behalf of Olentangy, because right now, only one of the two state reps really advocates on our behalf. So with that, I will turn it over to Superintendent Ray for his superintendent's report.
Forget my name already?
It's been a week.
That's all right. I understand. I'm easily forgettable.
Yes.
Well, welcome, everybody. Thank you for all being here. Always a pleasure. So we have, as always, have a couple of really nice Living the Mission slides. We had a number of elementary and middle school students participate in the spelling bee. So these are our top spellers for the Scripps Regional Spelling Bee, and they will be moving on to the next phase of the competition. And we've had actually really good representation. I do believe we've had people get out of the regionals, so I'm really proud of these students and their ability to spell. Every time I meet a kid who's actively involved in a spelling bee, I remember being traumatized of misspelling the word cereal in 5th grade, the food. So it was a memorable experience. Those kids, the pressure they go under is incredible, and they're really good. So next we have the Olentangy High School DECA seniors and deputy mocks. They were featured on NBC4 for a program that they developed for strength self-defense training for all Ohio students, and Deputy Mox was a key contributor to that, and we're really lucky to have fabulous school resource officers all throughout our district, and the support we get from Sheriff Martin, who I like to refer to as the best sheriff in Ohio or the country. So we're very, very fortunate, and Deputy Mox certainly is one that goes above and beyond the call of duty on a regular basis. So congratulations to that group of students. As you all know, we had our Olentangy One Community Conference. It's a four-part event. One of the first events we did was the MLK Day of Service, and you see there a long list of activities that our Equity and Inclusion team put together to benefit the community. A lot of people came out and supported that with donations and just, tremendous amount of support. Unfortunately, we had a weather event, so we probably didn't get quite as much participation as we may have, but that's a great job the Equity and Inclusion team does with that Martin Luther King Day of Service. So thank you to them for that work. I want to highlight some, again, this is a common thing going on all throughout the district, but I'm highlighting here tonight the work of Scioto Ridge Elementary students. They had their 11th annual Great Kindness Challenge. So they hold a whole Spirit Week activity, completing acts of kindness. They created Valentine's volunteers for the Buckeye military moms as part of that service project. The 4th graders you see there are designing kindness t-shirts, and they're having a fundraising effort for the Sloan Swanton Foundation. And Sloan was a child of assistant principal who passed away last year from pediatric chordoma. So very tragic, but those kids, as always, the kids do amazing things to pick us adults up. So we're very, very thankful for the work there at Scioto Ridge, and again, all throughout the district. I can't imagine that we could create another type of kindness initiative in the district. I wanted to give everybody an update since obviously we've had a couple of weather events, and it always causes some questions about why we choose to delay or why we choose to close and what goes on. First off, I want to thank and highlight the work of the weather team. Mr. Meyer leads the weather team along with Mr. Wright, Dr. Fetty, Principal Rob Griffiths from Olentangy High School, Lori Carter-Evans, and Transportation Supervisors Dan Maurer. They all go out, and typically Todd and I will talk the night before and decide whether or not they need to go out based on what the weather's looking like. And so, or Todd just, I don't know, I think he has a sleeping problem. Just all of a sudden, I get a text from him at 3 a.m. Not looking good. I think we're going out, even though we said the night before. So, and then obviously, once we decide to make a decision, Krista and the communications team go into action. So, the weather team, we go out, and I did it for years and years and years, and I'm very happy that I don't always have to go out. Every once in a while, I double check them, trust, yet verify. see how they're doing out there. They always get a little nervous when they know I'm out. I sneak out on the road to verify them, but having been on the weather team for years. And when they drive typically 30, 40 miles, they're out for about an hour. And we always try to drive like high school kids. So we accelerate too fast, we decelerate too quickly, we'll take, I mean, literally, it is in harm's way. And it's 4 in the morning, it's dark, and the road conditions are not always good. And so it's a lot that goes into this decision. It's not like, I talked to a superintendent one time and he said, yeah, I just throw my dog out the back door, and if I can't see his legs, then we're closing school. We put a lot more thought and effort into it. So, because, we want to make sure it's safe for our kids and our staff and our bus drivers to be on the road. So, and the difficult part of the decision-making process is that we're assessing the weather conditions, the road conditions, and they're constantly changing. So, we're out there at 5 o'clock, between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning, and we got to make a decision at 5 o'clock. The road conditions could be getting better, and you take a risk that let's try to open. The road conditions could be getting worse, and invariably, whatever decision we make, the minute we make the decision, the snow stops. Or the minute we make the decision to come to school, the snow starts. It always happens that way, and it's just never, unless it's 8-10 inches of snow, it's never easy. Or we're on a level 2, that makes it easier. With regards to temperature, the reality is that we have to go to school when the temperatures are like what they were the last 2 days. The National Weather Service says that wind chill sets in after about 30 minutes at minus 25 degrees wind chill with completely exposed skin. So that's no coat, no hat, no gloves. So the reality is if our roads are in good enough condition for our buses to run on time, and you can set your watch by when that bus arrives at the bus stop, when the road conditions are right, they will be there when they say they will be there by and large. So if we can run on time or as close to time as possible, then we're going to, the temperature isn't going to be a major factor for us. But, again, it's always a difficult condition, always difficult. We're always going to, I learned this very, very well from Dr. Lucas, I always remember him telling me, when in doubt, shut it down. If you have any doubt at all, err on the side of caution, err on the side of student safety, staff safety, and shut it down. And I know that causes problems for parents who have kids, when the kids have to stay home or it's delayed, but we are always trying to make that decision based on what is the most safe. And I just want to last comment about the Delaware County Travel Advisory. So if the county issues there are basically 6 zones in the county. We go all the way up to Morrow County, all the way down to Franklin County. The sheriff, when he issues a level 1 or a level 2, it's based on the conditions, not necessarily within the whole county. It could be one zone or another. And he has to put the whole county into a level 1. He can't put zone 1 up by Morrow County into a level 1 and leave southern Delaware County, us, normal. So, and again, we're 95 square miles. The conditions are very diverse. So it could be sunshine in here in Lewis Center or in the southern end of the district with no adverse conditions, and the northern end with rural road conditions. It's difficult. I also will say our maintenance crews do a great job. They get out there early, 2 in the morning, start plowing. The one thing I've said to Mr. Gordon and his team is that we better not have to delay or cancel school because we can't have our facilities ready. And they take that to heart and they just bust their hump to get that stuff done. And I always appreciate them. I remind the principals, a box of donuts goes a long way when your custodians have cleaned up, been out for 4 hours cleaning snow. So they're trying their best to get that done as best as possible. So I'll pause for a second. Does anybody have any questions on weather days or calamity? Yes, Mrs. Patrick.
I do. My son came home with the number of -16 and said that's when we closed down. I say that's a myth. Is that the truth, or?
I will say between -15 and 20, again, there's a temperature issue and the wind chill issue, but the road conditions play a far greater factor in it than the temperature. If it gets into the -20, -25, yeah, we're going to probably, then we have to look at what's it going to be like at 8, 9 o'clock. because that's when we want to make the decision by 5, so we can start alerting staff, and then we start alerting parents at 5:30, because we got a lot of pushback when we were calling at 4:45, 5 o'clock. We were waking people up too early. So, again, we want to try to be respectful of that.
I'm from Michigan, and there were barely any snow days back in the olden.
Yeah, I'm from.
Power outage was about it.
Yeah, I'm from Northeast Ohio. It does pain me to close or cancel school for, you're a Northeaster guy.
You went.
You went. So that's just not the way it is here.
No.
And so we're doing our best to try to get them in school as best we can. I had a Twitter account for years, and the kids would really mess with me hard, and then they just got mean, and I had to wimp out and get off Twitter because they were just really mean about snow days. So
The only thing I remind folks is that the road conditions in front of your house may not be representative of the 96 square miles of the district.
absolutely, absolutely. So thank you. So obviously I've been doing this every board meeting on our COVID impact. And I say the same, unfortunately, I've been sounding like a broken record up here about hopeful that when this will all change, our cases, these are lagging, this is last week's cases, and we have seen a decrease in cases here this week, so we will have a new number here coming out here soon. Omicron did obviously hit Ohio hard, and our cases remain high with students and staff. I'm hopeful and confident that we are heading in the right direction. Obviously, things continue to change with regards to quarantines and, the CDC guidance and the guidelines and all those things. You see there are vaccination rates. So you see the 43015, which is a portion of us up in the northern end, 43035 and 43065 zip codes. Again, we're not in totality all of the people in there, but you see the percentage of 5 to 9-year-olds, 46, 61, and 53%, and so on. So that's a factor in how we're making a decision, playing this out. I did meet with the health district today, and I met with our medical advisory team today. So in my conversation with the doctors, they remain very concerned that hospitalizations in the area are still high, very high, and unfortunately right now increasing in region 7 and 8 of the hospital area. The Hospital Association did send out a plea, as we all know, to schools to maintain masking. Healthcare systems remain in crisis at this time due to staffing shortages, and obviously the National Guard is still working here. Delaware County, our Delaware County report card remains red, minus the vaccines, so we're still failing most of the critical factors here in Delaware County. They're continuing to advocate for us to maintain our current masking policy for the near term. The whole issue is when we change as a country, a county, a state, a nation, from this being a type A communicable disease to and considered a pandemic, and we become what is referred to as an endemic, and we start treating this in the healthcare and the public health world like the flu. And they're getting close. I will say, in all my conversations with all those people, the health district, the health commissioners in the state have sent correspondence to Dr. Vanderhoff with the Ohio Department of Health that we're doing less and less contact tracing, and obviously Omicron hit, and we had so many cases in such a short period of time. It was, we had to change some of the COVID notification. So it is, I still think right now we are at a point where we have to maintain our current status. And I know that causes people, some people, the health professionals would have recommended that we put masks on high school kids when we came back, or they would have recommended it all year. We decided at the beginning of the year with the vaccination rates of high school kids that they wouldn't have to quarantined, so we were okay to not make the high school kids require them to have masks and just recommend them to have masks. With the vaccination status of the younger kids, we decided to require those masks. The health professionals do believe that there is lower transmission with the mask-wearing population. Our case counts are very similar throughout the district. But again, we cannot, there's just no way to determine why that is. Why, you know, 5th grade has a higher case count than 4th grade or a equal case count to 11th grade. I think, you know, in the elementary grades where they're all contained in one room for longer period of time, there probably is, you know, a likelihood that they're in closer to each other and more likely, more susceptible to transmission. We're fortunate, you know, obviously the cases have not been as severe. The quarantine times obviously have been shortened. So I am gaining an increasing level of confidence that we will be able to move away from required masks sometime in February, given where I would anticipate our cases to go here in the next 2 weeks. So obviously we'll have we have a board meeting on February 10th and then February 27th. So I would anticipate that, again, things are changing rapidly. And I believe they're now changing rapidly for the good. The Omicron surge hit Northeast Ohio far sooner than us and actually at a greater rate. And then it trended down. And when it trended down fast. And in my conversation with the doctor today, the reality is I think everybody should have the expectation that somewhere we've all been exposed to COVID at some point in time, either had it or not, and obviously we're hopefully entering into that realm of herd immunity and, you know, all those things that people talk about with regards to ending the pandemic. So I'll take any questions on that portion.
Anything from Dr. Ray, Mr. Ray? Go ahead, Brandon.
Relative to the vaccination numbers that you were showing, sorry, I'm probably a little far from this. For the vaccination numbers that you were showing with the K through 8, are we seeing those continue to climb? Have they plateaued? What is that looking like?
Yeah, I would say they've plateaued, you know, so I would have expected them. I thought maybe they would get to the rates of our upper grades. So you see there with the 15 to 17-year-olds and 12 to 14-year-olds are much higher. You know, so certain zip codes are higher than other zip codes. Obviously, that would have. Again, I'm not questioning one way or the other. I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just sharing information with regards to vaccines. You know, that the high vaccination rates at the high schools may indicate why our numbers are equal to elementary without masks. You know, and I get. I tell you people all the time, as I process all of this information, I am constantly arguing with myself. So every email that somebody sends me, I've already looked at every one of those pieces of data somewhere else, processed all that information with myself on both sides of the issue, because for every question I get regarding, I have just as many people wanting us to maintain what we're doing or increase mitigation strategies, and just as many people wanting us to reduce mitigation strategies. It still remains a divided issue, obviously.
So just so we understand the chart, so a census tract would be a subset of a zip code? It's just a further breakdown of the zip
Correct.
code analysis?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Just two hopefully easy questions. Exemption process still online for families that have concerns, readily available?
Yes.
Remind me again of the total number of folks in our district, not as a raw number, but as a percentage that have requested an exemption?
At the last count I had was roughly 4%. It does continue to add slightly. I'll have to get you that exact number. So if I keep talking and pause long enough, Dr. Fetty should be texting me at any second, and I may have that number before I walk away from the podium if he's actually paying attention.
Yes.
What is he saying?
He's giving you signals.
He's giving
You
me
need to turn around.
5%, roughly 5%.
You say 4 to 6.
4 to 6. Thank you, Dr. Fetty.
Anything else for Mr. Ryan? All right, thank you, sir.
The only ones who allowed to ask questions.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. Yes. So just finally, our action items of note, we have a big loose furnishings purchase with Martin Public Seating. We are redesigning all of the elementary libraries. That was like part of our last bond issue. So we're really excited to update and refresh all of our media centers in the elementary grades. We have on here an approval of Dublin Building Systems as our design builder of record, and Mr. Gordon's going to give you information on that. We have 12 buses, 10 standard buses and 2 handicap buses on the agenda there as part of our bus replacement program. Those buses are being purchased with bonds from the 2020 issue. We've now exhausted all the bonds from the 2016 issue. And then you see a task order, which is an agreement with CT Consultants for design, bidding and construction services for our West Transportation Center, because as we continue to add buses and people and routes and all those things, we need additional space. And again, that was part of the 2020 issue, the West Transportation Center. And then lastly, we have a couple events coming up. The second event for the One Community Conference is coming up on February, we missed a date, February.
It's throughout the month.
Oh, all month, that's right, thank you, all month, excuse me. And then we're starting a new program with with the communications department. We're going to host a coffee chat here at the Olentangy administrative offices. So I'm going to invite people in to just have an open discussion on anything that may be concerning, ask questions. So hopefully we'll get some people out for that on February 16th. And then our next Board of Education meeting is February 10th. So, any other questions?
So you made me think of it when you talked about the bus purchase.
Yes.
So it's somewhat related, but not necessarily entirely related. I think we need to recognize the staff, the administration, the bus drivers, several, let's say at least one large district in Central Ohio has had significant disruption because of lack of bus drivers, lack of substitutes. We've been able to manage our way through that. I think it demonstrates the commitment of the drivers, the commitment of the staff to get through this in a way that, we minimize the disruption to the educational experience of our students. So I think it's.
I really
should be
couldn't,
recognized.
I thank you. I'm embarrassed I didn't do that also, because that's huge, and I'm glad that the bus purchase jogged that with you. But it has been a just Herculean effort by our transportation department, the director, Lori Carter Evans, and her team, and all the drivers picking up. And again, it's hard enough to run a route at 6 in the morning in adverse weather conditions in the dark. Maybe it's raining, maybe it's snowing, and all of a sudden you walk in, and again, a classroom teacher walks in and they have their kids, and the bus driver walks in, and all of a sudden you're told you have another 20 kids you have to go pick up, or you drop off your route and you got to go pick up another set of kids, and those kind of things, because we've had people out. But they have done an incredible job of just holding it together, and we haven't, because there's been many districts, they've been going late arrivals, early release. They haven't had a normal day of school since December. And other districts have unfortunately had to shut down schools and those kind of things. So I really appreciate you mentioning that. So we have a bus driver here sitting in the front row, so I'm sure she appreciates it.
Maybe February should be bus driver appreciation.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think so, because I know you're down several drivers every day because people have been sick. I did have a question about Shale Meadows. Well, it was actually the furniture purchase. Is the Shale Meadows like the model of
Yes.
how they'll all look? Because they
Correct.
have some pretty neat furniture.
Yeah, nice.
That was it.
And I have one quick comment. I just wanted to go back to the day of service. The day was a very rough day weather-wise, and it was amazing to see the community. So I want to thank everybody in the community for coming out, for showing support, even in the inclement weather, and to all the volunteers that came out, that were standing there and that were happy and really willing to support everyone. It's a wonderful demonstration of what this community can do, and a wonderful way to remember Dr. King, to have that day of service that day. So I just wanted to thank everybody in the community and all the volunteers.
Thank you.
All
All right.
right, thank you. Next up is Mrs. Hatfield with the Treasurer's Report.
Good evening. I apologize, this will not be nearly as fun as the jazz band. But we do have some good information to share, some good news. We will start with our fiscal year 2020 audit. We have finally got that completed. I know it seems like we have closed those books and moved on several months ago as we closed in the summer, but it does take some time to have all of our financial information reviewed, processed, tested, and then certified for us. So we can make sure that we are sharing with our community that we have another clean audit for fiscal year 2021. We had no management letter comments, no citations or no adjustments that we needed to make. So very proud of our team for that. We are eligible again for the Distinction Award from the Auditor of State's Office. So we will have a presentation on that coming at our next board meeting. I also wanted to share that we received the STARS highest ranking again. So the STARS rating system is a relatively new program. It's its second year. It is a program from the Auditor of State. And what this program is defined to do or designed to do is encourage open government representation of their financials. So not only do we have open financials, but we are fulfilling public records requests. We are sharing information in a timely manner as quickly as we possibly can. And so those items are ranked, and we received another 4-star ranking based on our auditor's testing of that program. So we share basically a spreadsheet where we track all of our public records requests and share with them the information that is presented to the community, and that's what they go through to monitor that for us. We also wanted to give a fiscal software update. We've been talking a lot for a very long time about eFinance Plus implementation. So very quickly, just for those who haven't maybe heard about it, we are transferring our fiscal software from the state software, which was designed by the state of Ohio for the school district, into a new eFinance Plus. This is a PowerSchool product, so it aligns with our student information systems. It also aligns with several of our human resources modules that are used. So this goes towards our strategic plan for digital conversion, for efficacy, and making sure that we are having best practices and aligning our data quickly, and allowing us to have electronic workflows for approvals. So all of those pieces will be enhanced as we continue to build our expertise in this. The other piece to this that we are excited to announce and we'll be working with our staff on is an employee access center. Many companies have this. It's a portal where they allow their staff to go in and look at digital versions of W-2s, direct deposit statements, make adjustments to their tax deductions, etc. And so this eFinance Plus has a component of that called the Access Center, and we have chosen to take advantage of that, and we'll be working on having that implemented for our staff by the end of this academic year. So very excited to share that that's another efficiency that we can gain and allow staff to have access to their information without having to call in and wait for someone to return their information to them. Funding update. We've had lots of conversations about additional funding coming in, which I will address here in just a minute. But I also wanted to make sure that we talked a little bit about our tax year 2021 rates. Tax year 2021 rates will be applied to the 2020 calendar year tax bills that our community's members will receive. We did have an increase in property valuations, about 1% over where we thought we would be as of our November forecast. And that increase in property valuations, because of House Bill 920, takes the voted millage of 92.2 and rolls it down or rolls it back to an effective rate. So we wanted to make sure that we were showing the effective residential rate and that cost per $100,000 on property valuation. It's a slight decrease from tax year 2020. I believe it's about a $9.21 decrease. But please also know, as a community member, your tax bill may or may not have actually gone down. When the auditor, Delaware County Auditor, does property valuations, they are giving us information on our community as a whole. So your individual home or individual property may have gone up or gone down more than what we are reflecting here based upon what they valued your property at. So if you have questions in the community, please feel free to reach out. Our Treasury contact information is on our website. We're happy to walk through that with you. Very briefly, House Bill 169 was the House bill that the governor signed into law that gave us a portion of the state's ESSER reserves. Previously, we were not awarded ESSER 2 or 3 funds, but through this House bill, we will receive about $20 million of the state's ESSER 2 and 3 reserves. We've attended several conferences to get more information about how we can spend that, what the policies look like surrounding those funds, but are excited to be able to announce that those are officially available to us. And then finally, the Fair School Funding Plan. We've been waiting anxiously for new funding reports from the state as we are in the first year of the Fair School Funding Plan new formula. It is not fully phased in, so if you are looking at your school finance funding reports online, which are available to the community on Ohio Department of Education's website, they did not implement the funding model even at the 16% phase-in. So a couple of the components, I believe transportation for sure is still about 2 years behind on counts and data. We are behind on gifted data, or excuse me, ODE is a little bit behind on that conversion, and they still have not released our DPIA or poverty-related data. So there's still some catch-up to do. It does not reflect what we have in the 5-year forecast, but there are also component parts that they'll continue to revise as they make progress through the coming months. So I wanted to make sure we were aware of what that meant if we have folks looking at those reports. And then finally, for our action items, we have monthly financials, amended appropriation, board meeting minutes, and donations. I'm not going to read all the donations off the list, but certainly we are very grateful to those individuals for making donations to the district as dollar amounts. We are also very grateful for all of the community service and in-kind donations that we receive, including the MLK and one community items that people participate in. I apologize, I have a typo on my slides. I put December financials when it's actually November. So I do apologize for that typing error. But to give you a brief overview of the November financials, we are right about midway, about 48% of our expenditures to date and revenue to date. So we're right in target with our 5-year forecast. Of course, as we get some new information about the spending model for the ESSER funds, we might have a further decrease in our expenditures for the May forecast revisions and or possibly a receipt for prior year's expenditures. So we'll work through those details and make sure that we give updates as we go. But for now, the November financials are tied back to the November forecast. Are there any questions I can answer for you? That was a lot of data all at once. My apologies.
Go ahead.
Yes.
So going back to the distinctions you mentioned earlier,
Sure.
I'm just curious, what kind of percentage of the districts get an award like this? Is this like, I got participation trophies when I was little in sports. I wasn't very good. Is this a participation trophy or does this matter?
It matters. They're not participation trophies. You can have a good audit record, but still may have management letter comments or things that the auditors say you need to fix. They may not be material, but we didn't have anything like that. So generally speaking, out of the the state auditor's office, out of all the entities they audit are responsible for, about 6 to 7%, I believe is the last number I had, actually received the award of all the entities that they audit. So that includes school districts, cities, townships, a multitude of other public entities. So it's not just school districts. And I believe there were 7 school districts in the press announcement that they sent out on January 18th, I believe. So we were one of 7 to be nominated for this year, for fiscal year 21.
Congratulations.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, we should clap. So, did I hear you right that they still haven't given a spending model for the ESSER money yet? So we're not sure to what degree that's fungible with other stuff that we're doing, or?
So when I say that, I mean we have to make sure that we're following federal procurement law and contracts, how we're honoring bids, et cetera. And we also have to understand the length of time that we have to spend this. One of the metrics that they have with the ESSER 2 funds, for example, it retros back to, I believe, March of 2020. We've closed our books through fiscal year 21. So how do we account for that? Can we go back and take those pieces? How do we get that on the books? How do we communicate that, right? So there are documents and things that I want to make sure we have a better handle on before we start moving and shuffling to make sure that it's accurate going forward and we don't have to do it more than once. And make sure that we can have a clean reporting going forward for our community. So we have lots of documentation. I think I had a 5-page summary document that I shared with our leadership team. We will review that and start to lay out our plan to target what items may already qualify under these funds and what we can use them on going forward. And then that plan will be shared at that once we have it ready to go. So we're a little late in the game. Some districts may already have plans on their websites, but of course they received allocations at the end of last fiscal year and have had almost a whole year to prepare that.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Anything else? No? All right, thank you. We'll give you a minute to get your seat, but the next item is public participation.
Okay, thank you. So for public participation, we did not have submissions at the beginning of the meeting before we started. So we will not have any participation this evening.
If you're going to enforce a policy that's not anywhere online, you need to make sure the policy's online to try to silence people. There's not anywhere online that says you need to show up prior to the meeting to be able to speak in public comment. It's ridiculous that you're trying to enforce a policy that's not shared anywhere. Absolutely ridiculous.
Policy 0169 is on the Board of Education's website. Thank you.
Emily, we're not gonna have a back and forth. You should leave.
Are we ready?
You should go. You should go. Good night. Okay.
Good night to you.
All right, that was interesting. Let's go to our next discussion item, the design builder of record from Jeff Gordon. As Jeff comes up, public participation has been a debated item for the 12 years I've been on the board. The protocol for public comment has been discussed and debated for 12 years. For someone to come in and say, I didn't know, it just tells me they didn't do their homework. Jeff, let's go.
Thank you. The design builder of record. So I want to back up a little bit and just talk about why we go through that process. You've seen several of these of records, design professionals. So the legal requirements to bring a design professional on board is to do a request for qualifications, then review those qualifications and choose a design professional. Many of these things that we're doing design professional of records, like our civil engineer, our mechanical engineer, we could do using our architect, but then we pay a premium for the architect to manage that process for us. So we save some cost by going directly to these professionals, and we have enough work and enough various projects that saving those costs are considerable, and then we can work directly with the professionals that are designing for us. So that's why you keep seeing these. The CT consultants addendum today is a part of that. We approved CT as our civil engineer of record about a year ago. So this is the second or third, well, sixth, because it's 6A. So it's the sixth time we've used them for a process done an addendum and used them. So that's the reason why you keep seeing these and why that process goes along. The reason for the design builder of record tonight is, again, this is something our architect could do for us, put some pricing together, but it's not their specialty. It's fairly straightforward program we're looking at right now. So we're going to bring a design builder of record on for prefabricated metal buildings. If we have a couple projects we want to take a look at in the district, we haven't made a decision to move forward on anything. We had a discussion at Facilities Committee several months ago regarding a possible facility for tech, along with some storage to make space available for the tech department to manage the initializing and getting the computers ready, or the devices ready. They have so many devices they're processing now, and they use so much space to do that. We've kind of have outgrown and the space here in the board office to do it. We've tried to do it out in buildings at times, and so we're looking at a building where we could move and process those and kind of make that a one-stop where we can get those devices in, get those out, along with housing the staff for our tech department. So that's something we've looked at, we discussed with the Facilities Committee. The next step is to get the design builder of record on board so that we can go through, they can look at a design, put something together for us, and then once we have that design together, and I shouldn't say a full design, really giving us an idea, we'll work with them to come up with a concept of what we're looking for. Then they'll be able to price it once we have that concept. Then we can bring that back to the Facilities Committee and have a discussion about, is this something that we want to move forward with? Is this something we want to build? Should we really look at leasing spaces or purchasing spaces? But we really can't make any of those decisions till we really know what kind of space we're looking for and what the cost of the options are. So that's, once we get the design builder of record on, that's why this one's a little out of the box, because we already have an architect. But again, it doesn't make sense to pay our architect to design a metal building versus what they do for school buildings. And Dublin Building Systems, the reason we chose them, we had 3 responses. One of them was Robertson Construction Services, which is doing our our middle school and just finished our elementary. They've done a great job. Again, this isn't in their wheelhouse. They're not in the community. They're doing a great job for us. Would not go wrong using them. Another one was Marker Construction, who we've not worked with before, have great references. And then Dublin Building Systems also has great references. They're members in the community. Their kids have gone through the school, and this is right in their wheelhouse. So the Dublin Building Systems, they do a lot of those warehouse, office combination type spaces that we're really looking for. So that's the reason that we settled on them, and the reason for going out for this particular design or professional of record. Any questions? I know I went through it quick.
Can I ask an unrelated question about the bus parking?
Yes.
Okay, so that initial project got a little bit delayed. Sorry. Right, wasn't it going to start and then it didn't start, so it's due to start maybe this summer?
Yeah, we had it originally when we started talking about the busing, it was, do we need another, again, working with Facilities Committee, working with the administration, do we need another bus facility? Do we have the space available to just expand the facilities we have? Again, what's the right process to go through? And really, as we've been efficient in designing the routes and not continuing to add routes, we've added less routes and bought less buses than we probably planned for 7 or 8 years ago. So as we become more efficient, that's allowed us to push off the bus parking. So when the bond was approved in 2020, this wasn't something we had to rush into. It's a need, but not something we had to rush into last year when we were trying to get so many projects that were held up from the bond completed. So
Is there
that's-
any wetlands over there?
There is a pond, it's not a wetland, so to speak, there's the pond that we put in to collect the stormwater from the site. And originally, we talked about maybe filling in part of that or doing it, but with a number of buses we need to add, we found that by reallocating some of the space that we have and moving some things around, we can do that without the extra cost of trying to fill in and push that pond back. So.
While he's there, we should congratulate him. He did become a grandfather this week.
Yes.
I did.
Beautiful granddaughter.
Congratulations.
My son, who's in the Navy in Norfolk, they had their first child and his wife, so thank you, Mr. Rafe.
Pretty special.
All right, so next item, Mrs. Hatfield, do you want to present the treasurer action items?
Yes, please. I would like to present treasurer action items A through D for approval, please.
I'll move.
Motion, please.
A
Mrs. Patrick?
motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Lester? Any discussion on the treasurer action items? All right, seeing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Patrick?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Dr. Dabberco?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
And Dr. Weiss?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Rafe, would you please present the superintendent action items?
Yes, sir. I'd like to present superintendent action items A through I for approval.
Have a motion, please.
So moved. I'll second.
Dr. Wise and Ms. Patrick with a second. Any discussion on the superintendent action items? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Dr. Weiss?
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick?
Yes.
Dr. Dabberco?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn. Before we adjourn, February 10th is our next meeting. It will be here. So we welcome everyone back.
So moved.
Take a motion, please.
So moved.
Mr. Dabbercow?
Yep.
Co.
A motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Mr. Lester, second. Any discussion on the adjournment?
I just
All right,
thank you for
please
the
call the roll.
lovely gifts tonight that the district gave us in that concert. So that was very